Is social distancing biblical? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer that question for you. Stick around. This is By the Book. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Thank you for joining me. I'm Pastor Frederick. Is social distancing biblical? Well, that question has been recently circulating around the internet, and I've been asked that question several times. First and foremost, what is social distancing for those who are living under a rock? It is the practice that involves keeping a distance between you and others to prevent the spread of disease. Now, I don't see anything wrong with the concept of social distancing, although I do prefer the phrase physical distancing rather than social distancing. Keeping with the fact that physical distance is what prevents the spread of disease, whereas social distance carries the connotation of social isolation. And technically, we're not socially isolated. Although some have self-isolated in their homes, we still can remain connected via technology. So what does the Bible say about social distancing and keeping oneself isolated to prevent the spread of disease? Well, the Bible explicitly talks about leprosy. Leprosy is a very rare yet very contagious skin disease that could spread via airborne droplets. If left untreated, leprosy can cause irreversible damage to your skin, limbs, and your eyes. Our first reference concerning social distancing and isolating oneself, the protocol that we see is in Leviticus 13 verse 46. It says, "He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp." So a person with leprosy had to self-isolate. They had to live in a dwelling outside of the camp of Israel to prevent the spread of disease. In fact, this is one of the earliest recordings of quarantine and isolation to prevent the spread of disease in history. Our next reference is 2 Chronicles 26 verse 21. It reads, "And King Uzziah was a leper to the day of his death, and being a leper lived in a separate house, for he was excluded from the house of the Lord. And Jotham, his son, was over the king's household, governing the people of the land." King Uzziah of Judah unfortunately was struck with leprosy by God for being disobedient. He was also required to self-isolate in his home away from his family, and he was restricted from going to the tabernacle to offer sacrifices to the Lord. And to add insult to injury, he lost his kingdom and his son took over the kingship. Our last reference is found in the New Testament, Luke 17, beginning at verse 12. It says, "And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers." So Jesus is entering a village and he's met by 10 lepers. It says, "who stood at a distance. When he saw them, he said to them, 'Go and show yourselves to the priests.' And they went and they were cleansed." In this reference, Jesus healed 10 lepers from a distance. The lepers stood at a distance per the Mosaic law. Christ did not have to physically touch them to heal them. He simply spoke and they were healed. He simply told them to walk by faith and show the priests that they were healed. Even in the New Testament, lepers were required to self-isolate and quarantine themselves, practice social distancing, even in the New Testament. So as we can see, social distancing is a very old practice, and it's been relatively successful in reducing the spread of disease. Although it doesn't eliminate the disease, it has certainly saved countless lives. And lastly, there is a biblical precedent for it. So the next time someone asks you or criticizes you about social distancing, you can show them what God's word says. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel for more content while I will be answering the most relevant questions. Thanks. This is By the Book. Peace.